Polar bears, Ursus maritimus, are large carnivorous mammals known for their iconic appearance and their association with the Arctic region. Here are some key facts about polar bears. Many of the polar bear's physical adaptations help it maintain body heat and deal with its icy habitat. The bear's outer layer of fur is hollow and reflects light, giving the fur a white color that helps the bear remain camouflaged. The skin under the polar bear's fur is actually black. This black is evident only on the nose. Polar bears also have a thick layer of fat below the surface of the skin, which acts as insulation on the body to trap heat. This is especially important while swimming and during the frigid Arctic winter. The bear's large size reduces the amount of surface area that's exposed to the cold per unit of body mass, pounds of flesh, which generates heat. Habitat: polar bears are primarily found in the Arctic, including the Arctic Ocean, its surrounding seas, and the shorelines and ice flows of the northern hemisphere. They are adapted to the cold, icy environment of the polar regions. Appearance: polar bears are known for their white fur, which helps them blend into their snowy surroundings. However, their fur is not actually white but translucent. They have black skin, which helps them absorb and retain heat from the sun. Their large size and powerful limbs make them excellent swimmers and hunters. Diet: polar bears are carnivores and primarily feed on seals, particularly ringed and bearded seals. They are skilled hunters, using their keen sense of smell to locate seal-breathing holes in the ice. They will wait for seals to surface to breathe and then ambush them. Another vitally important food source in most areas are seal pups that are born and live in dens in the Arctic ice. The polar bear identifies these dens by smell and other markers and pounces through the roof of the den to capture the young seals. In Hudson Bay, the availability of seal pups in the spring is increasingly limited by earlier melting of ice. In the Arctic, polar bears are at the top of the food chain. They eat everything and nothing, except native hunters, eats them. Adaptations: polar bears are well adapted to their extreme environment. They have a layer of blubber for insulation, a streamlined body shape for swimming, and large, powerful limbs for walking on ice and snow. Their front paws are equipped with webbed toes for efficient swimming. Reproduction: polar bears give birth to their cubs in dens made of snow and ice. Pregnant females typically enter these dens in late autumn and give birth to 1 to 3 cubs in December or January. The cubs stay with their mother for about 2.5 years, learning essential survival skills. Conservation status: polar bears are considered vulnerable and face threats due to climate change and the resulting loss of their sea ice habitat. As the Arctic ice melts, polar bears have to travel greater distances to find food. This has led to reduced body condition and cub survival rates in some populations. The chief threat to the polar bear is the loss of its sea ice habitat due to climate change. As suggested by its specific scientific name, Ursus maritimus, the polar bear is actually a marine mammal that spends far more time at sea than it does on land. It's on the Arctic ice that the polar bear makes its living, which is why climate change is such a serious threat to its well-being. Polar bears are being impacted by climate change in several ways. Conservation efforts: many countries and organizations are actively working to protect polar bears and their Arctic habitat. Conservation efforts include monitoring and research, international agreements, and measures to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to combat climate change. Cultural significance: polar bears have cultural and spiritual significance for indigenous peoples in the Arctic. They are often considered powerful and symbolic creatures in their mythology and traditions. Because they spend so much time in the ocean, polar bears are classified as marine mammals. The polar bear's scientific name, Ursus maritimus, means sea bear. Polar bears evolved from brown bears to survive in extreme northern environments. Polar bears are the largest terrestrial predator on the planet, with large males standing more than 11 feet, 3.3 meters, tall on their hind legs and reaching weights over 1,700 pounds, 770 kilograms. Unlike black bears and brown bears, polar bears do not hibernate during the winter months because that's when sea ice forms, which the polar bears need to hunt seals. When necessary or playing, polar bears communicate with each other. Polar bears are often seen as an emblematic species of the Arctic, and their conservation is closely linked to the broader issue of climate change. As the Arctic ice continues to melt, the future of these magnificent animals becomes a topic of great concern and international attention.